Greetings and welcome back once again. This is Ivona. I pray everybody is doing well. I'm going to give you a little bit of time to come in and then we're going to have the conversation. I'm going to do a mic check and make sure everything's on the up and up, and I'll be right back. And we're live. Just welcome back once again. This is Una. I pray everybody is doing well. Yo, I pray that your week has been going well. And if not, we give thanks that you're here. It's been crazy. I know I've been MIA, missing in action. Show some love in the comment section. Greet everyone. Thumbs up, like the video. You already know it's going to be a little bit litty. It's going to be an open mic in a minute too. So if you have any thoughts, feel free to share. I have a number of thoughts. There's so much been going on, but really, um, I've been doing some revamping at the Yummy. So that's been taking a lot of my time. And by the time I'm finished, I'm tired. And when I'm tired, I don't really feel like talking a lot, right? But nonetheless, there's a new N word that I'm hearing floating around and just used all willy-nilly. So this is a bit of an open mic plus my thoughts on this new N word, right? And it's all over the internet. And it's not ninja, okay? And it's about everybody and everything. That one boyfriend you had in college, that girl who didn't give you her number in junior high school. All of these people are considered in this new YouTube space as this new N-word. And it has nothing to do with color. Can anybody share with me what they think this new N-word is? And I'm going to share with you my relationship with this and why I think that this new trend could possibly be problematic, because with many things, just like the healing word, we use these as we turn them into these cliches, and we strip from it the value of understanding what we're dealing with. And it's kind of like this new big boogeyman, this new scapegoat, right? I don't see anybody typing in the new N word in the comment section. So I'm going to go ahead and say the new N word. Dum, ta, da, dum. India B says she doesn't know. The new N word that I hear being flung around, sprayed like potpourri, shot in the air like confetti, is the narcissist. The narcissist. Thank you, sweetie darling. Thank you, sweetie darling. Let me jump over here. The narcissist. Thank you, sweetie darling. The narcissist, this word, I don't know if it's like because you see it now, it's everywhere, but this word is being thrown around just so loosely, just so willy-nilly. Everybody seems to be a narcissist. But it's interesting because we have to really understand that narcissism is narcissism is a diagnosis. Narcissism is a diagnosis. So although somebody may have narcissistic traits, they may not necessarily be a narcissist. And I know that's hard to believe. And a lot of people don't want to believe it because it's a word that is triggering. So one of the things I see that's going on is with this young Pharaoh situation, and I said it's open mic, right? So this young Pharaoh situation that I've been quietly following, because especially when speaking on people who are actually actively going through things, and you have this kind of blow by blow, no pun intended, but this this real time transpiring of the person did this and that person. It's important to be more observant than it is to preempt the situation, because when you don't have sufficient amount of information, you can go out misleading people unknowingly, right? So I've been just watching the situation as it unfolds, but definitely the domestic violence component of the situation. Welcome, Truthful Perspective. Welcome to the conversation. I have spoken about that as well. Now, this is going to be a treat for you and a treat for me. I don't know. It may be a treat for you, but it is a treat for me. I want to talk about the narcissist, but I want to go back 9 years to a much younger me who was very new with this concept, as many people maybe just coming into this concept. And I had a conversation. I'm gonna share it here because I haven't seen this video in a very, very, very long time. So it's like I'm watching it for the first time, right? And I'm having this conversation in a very base space about understanding what a narcissist is. So let's watch it together, and hopefully it will help us if we don't already know, just by some of the way the YouTubers are using it. Now, you have some experts on YouTube, like Dr. Romney, I mentioned her before. You have Sam Vaknin, who's another expert. And you have this new brother who I'm just coming across, but he, like Sam Vaknin, is a diagnosed narcissist. And so because he's a diagnosed narcissist, like Sam Vaknin, he's speaking from that diagnosed, that self-aware narcissist space that's giving you, what's his name? I have to get his name. But that's a different perspective. So you have the medical profession perspective, the person who may have been interfacing with a narcissist, and then you have the narcissist who's been in therapy or they're self-aware. Now, to be a narcissist, according to this DSM, I think they're up to 5 now, this diagnostic manual, you have to check a certain amount of boxes, but I don't want to go ahead of myself. We're going to just do a blast from the past. This is going to be a younger Amuna. It's going to be interesting because it came to my mind like, you know what? I did this video a long time ago and I haven't seen it in a while. So let's take a look at it together. Hold on. And you're gonna see my video editing skills. They were really let me pull this off the screen. Hold up. Only because we're just doing the most. Anytime we get a hold of something, we do the most. I don't know why we do the most, but we do the most. This video was from when? Like 2012. That's how old this video one is right here. So I'm having a little conversation. Let's listen in.
Shalom everyone. Today's topic is going to be NPD. What in the world is NPD? Narcissism. We about to listen now. We trying to listen up for Miss B. Oh, this is Miss B calling now. Let's talk about narcissism today, people. Shalom.
Shalom.
Hey, Miss B, how you doing today?
I'm good, thanks.
You're right in time. I'm good. You're right in time for the topic. I was just telling the people we're gonna be talking about a juicy topic today. You know, people like to say, "You so narcissistic," you know.
Oh, we're talking about narcissism.
Yep. But what is it? You know, what is it? What is it all about? And I hope you can help us here as we go through. I found a juicy website. This one is really good. They have a checklist. They have a lot of information. Not normally like how you just curse people and say you narcissistic, and then there's nothing that you can do. But this website really focuses on a cure, they call it, for narcissism and how to deal with it. So you ready? What do you think about narcissism?
So as you can hear, this is me. It's still me. It was me 9 years ago. I want to get information. I want to be correct in what I'm sharing. I got an expert on the phone. Actually, it's my mother who is a master's in social work. So she went through the processes. She works in the field and she's aware. So I said, let me interview her in her field experience versus what the books are saying. So to check off narcissism, you have to check a certain amount of boxes to have narcissistic personality disorder. Now you can have narcissistic traits. Many people have narcissistic traits. Narcissistic traits come from a space and time of development that all people, quote unquote, are supposed to pass through and transition through. But when you don't transition for one reason or another, you get stuck in this space. And you may, or the person may, the ex may, the mother, father, sister, brother may have these narcissistic characteristics. But to be qualified as, or to be called a full-blown to have full-blown narcissistic personality disorder, you have to check more than what we are just saying, oh, that person is narcissistic. So let's continue to listen.
Well, how to best manage the behavior, because I don't think there is quote unquote a cure for narcissistic behavior, but that's how to recognize it and manage it.
Okay, so you don't think it's a disease?
Like, it's a disease, but it's more a behavioral adjustment,
right,
than a cure, quote unquote.
Okay.
Cure.
So let's see here. Miss B says she doesn't think it could be cured, but she thinks it could be managed. So we're gonna check it out and see what we find. It says narcissism and codependence are major functions in chronic marital fighting. We have gone public with our experience to help couples recognize and deal with this problem. And I found this website a couple of years ago because it's like, and I'll just go through the checklist because we could go on. I think this is going to be a long topic. What do you think, Ms. B?
I think so because we deal with people every day that portrays that narcissistic behavior.
Maybe we are the people.
We are the people. We do, have those kind of behaviors to a lesser or a greater degree. So let's see what you found.
Okay.
So you see, even during this time, even at this time, I was in my younger 30s. I was self-aware that instead of just pointing the finger, and always looking to identify everything and everyone else, there's a level of know thyself. There's a possibility that you're seeing it in others because it exists in you to a certain degree, right? Or that some brokenness exists in you that attracts this variety of an individual who has these types of personality traits. I'm just saying that to say that as we're having this conversation in very public spaces, it's important for us to be responsible with the information that we are disseminating, right? I'm always going to keep saying that because whether or not somebody holds you accountable, the energy, the universe will hold you accountable. The heavens and earth will witness against us. The rocks will record our thoughts, energy, and behaviors. And when it returns to us in like kind, or it returns to our children and we bawl foul, like, oh, I don't know what happened, we're not realizing that we put that energy to a certain degree out there, right?
It says symptoms of. Oh, we got a beep, but this one is deep. So we're gonna let the voicemail pick up, and we're gonna see symptoms of narcissism as related to narcissistic personality disorder. They named it. Everything these days has a thing. So we're gonna call it NPD for short. The first checklist on the narcissism side is two-faced, puts friends and family down behind their back. That's the first on the checklist. The next thing on the checklist is blames others for failures and lack of success.
Wait, so if somebody's listening, can y'all write the checklist? I'll try to. I forgot where I put this website where I actually got this from. This was a while ago, but according to the website, I know this is not the official one. Maybe we'll go over to the DSM. I think it's 5 now. But the first one, it says two-faced, right? A two-faced person. The second one, what did it say? Let's listen again what the second one said.
It's never their fault.
Right.
It was the weather. It was my car. It was Johnny in the bar. He's the one who made me not get my drink on time. It's everybody else and everything else. It says a different person in private than public. How do you think the list is going so far? Is that true? Irresponsible and unreliable, often trading off others' hard work.
Yeah.
The person in school that you had to team with on your project, and they'll never answer the phone. They'll never show up for meetings, and then they want to put your name on your paper at the end.
Right, because they want to take credit.
They want to take credit for stuff they didn't do. Arrogant, acts superior to family and close friends.
Yeah, because that kind of behavior is the opposite because they have some low sense of self, who they really are.
Lives in fantasy world, which includes inappropriate. I'm just gonna say inappropriate. What they call it? X-rated materials, romance novels, flirting and or affairs, computer games, and or dreams of fame and success. Says they live in a fantasy world.
Right. They because reality to them is very hard to be real because of not having that sense of self. So they always go into that fantasy. The fantasy is what's going to make them feel whole, but it's not necessarily true.
I've seen some of this stuff. May be addicted to this fantasy-oriented behavior. It's an obsession. It says may have other addictions such as alcohol, tobacco, gambling, drugs, shopping, and or sex. They have addictions. It says will lie and distort facts and change events in history to suit their own agenda. Wow. May use people, steal, and be irresponsible with money. We almost it says distant and emotionally unavailable unless they want something.
That's one of their main operatives in how they behave.
Will lack empathy for others, especially the people they exploit.
Absolutely.
Will be very controlling and often unable to relax.
Yeah, because they're always thinking of the next way to manipulate.
So they're master. Go ahead.
They can't relax and be themselves because they don't know how.
Wow. It says here, may, where are we? Appear charming and even humble in public.
Absolutely, because remember, they have a private face and a public face.
May regularly provoke people and then blame them for their fights.
Absolutely. That's a true character of a narcissist.
Wow. What else we have here? The last one on the list. Will have trouble admitting their mistakes.
Yeah, because in their own fantasy world, they don't make mistakes. There's always the other person that does it.
And that's the checklist that they have for as related to narcissistic personality behavior. That's the checklist that they have there for narcissism. And like I said, maybe we may have seen some of this stuff in ourselves, but I've definitely seen it in some people that I know and have known in times past. What do you think about that checklist? How true to is it in your experience in the professional field?
Very true. It's hard to live with a narcissist because you always have to walk on eggshell as to how you respond to them because they're going to take it. Everything is taken negatively. Even if you are saying a good word, it's misconstrued as you're attacking them. Because of their sense of self, is so low, and they have a negative, what we call self-talk. Is everything someone else says, even though they may be saying it or as a compliment, it's always an attack.
Right.
Now,
can you give me an example? Say I was that person. If you and you gave me a comment. Can we get an example for the people? Like, you look very nice today.
You're right. And they're gonna say, instead of saying, "Oh, thank you," they will probably respond as to say, "What do you mean by that?"
Oh, okay.
It's a compliment.
Or something, or maybe I don't look. What happened? I don't look nice every day.
Exactly. That kind of response. But at the same time, we have to keep in mind that narcissism is not something that is a true personality.
Right.
It's something that's fostered over time.
Oh, it's a facade.
So we have to go back and look at what is the root cause why this person now adapt this kind of behavior. It's a maladaptive form of being.
Right.
Some deficit was there at a young age, and in order for them to survive in whatever environment they grew up in, that person now has to adapt to whatever worked for them at the stage that it was developing. So as they grow, that behavior becomes part of their personality. That's why it is considered a personality disorder.
So it's a pseudo person. It's
a pseudo person.
Right.
The true person never got developed, but the maladaptation that they use to survive now becomes who they are.
All right. For those who just joined us, I wanted to do a little blast from the past. I wanted to do a little blast from the past on this topic. The name of the topic is the new N word. Because, sometimes when we get a new toy, we just fling it around. We get so excited. We use it everywhere, and everybody's a narcissist, and everything's a narcissist. And we haven't really, I'm not saying all, but just the way I'm hearing it being used, applied and misapplied, used to either write off certain type. Everybody's not a narcissist. Some people may be sociopaths. Some people may be bipolar. Some people may be codependent, right? But because narcissism is the buzzword, we're saying everyone is a narcissist. So this conversation was happening many, many years before. I remember when I first heard, really engaged the term and understanding. Y'all know me, I'm going to go like to the 100th level below. But when I first I want to say it was 2009, and it was actually my mother. So shout out to her. You just heard her voice. And I was trying to understand what I was experiencing at that time in life. And she told me, the person is a narcissist. And to me, it was just like, right? This is '09. Yeah, this is '09. So this is a while ago. And I'm like, narcissist, right? And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Right? So, right, the old buzzword, thank you, India, was toxic. So before, it's like toxic meant something. Now everything, oh my goodness, it's toxic. And what we do when we generalize and we make these words cliche is that it loses its value. It's like a spice. It's like turmeric. You know what I mean? We've been using turmeric forever. If you come from certain places, you use turmeric. If you come from the India, you use turmeric. It's called curry. Now, when somebody gets a hold of turmeric and it's this super drug, and now turmeric, and now it loses its value, right? So it is with toxicity. So it is with narcissism. So it is with healing, right? Our brother said the other day, I hope healing, it doesn't become cliche. I said it's too late because people are just using it, and actually they're using them in tandem. Actually, they're using narcissism, healing, and toxicity all together, and it's really just to kind of sum up the situation without really even going through the process that it takes to get an understanding for yourself. So it's kind of like a way to now explain away my experience. Oh, it happened to me because that person was a narcissist, right? So we're going to go over and read a little bit about the DSM-4. I know, snooze fest, but nonetheless, it helps me because when I'm listening to certain people, or maybe I pass by a video or pass by a conversation, and I'm just hearing certain terms used in a way, and I'm just like, and I'm just seeing, so many, it's being seeded in all of our minds, and we take this misinformation and different information back to our homes, and we misdiagnose things. This is why oftentimes you see doctors and lawyers in today's space and time, and even graphic designers, right? I officially, back in the day, went to school for graphic design. There's certain people that's in their feelings right now because what used to take time, energy, and money and school loans to do, now it's a Google search away. Now it's so now you see people throwing shade, oh, you're a Google scholar, because everything that used to take time, it's readily available. It's right at your fingertips. You don't have to go to school for it. You can just go to the first search page of Google. The problem is that there was a study or report that was done that most people don't get past the third page of Google. I'm the person who will go to the last page of Google. If I'm really interested, I will search every single source because I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to misinform somebody or show, but other people who just want like, I got this piece of information, oh, yeah. They don't read through the study. They don't read through the statistics. They don't read through the things, and they come and they present it because I want to be the first to present it to the people. I want to sound like I know what I'm talking about. Next thing you know, you lead people off the path. People take it into their real lives. They take it into their relationships. They take it into their families, and they cause a bigger mess. I'm not saying that we cannot be self-educated. I'm just saying we should be dedicated to that education that we are saying that we're invested in. And we kind of have to just be aware of who's disseminating information. There's some people who just likes to keep saying the same word over and over because it sounds scholarly. And then in actuality, they really didn't do the research. Now, narcissism, I learned many years ago, once I was put onto it, I searched everything. I'm going to go to New York on y'all. I didn't search everything. I searched everything, right? And everything that I was finding, the internet was a very different place in 2009. Okay. Everything that I was finding was like, yo, it's a wrap. There was no YouTube. YouTube was just like a baby. YouTube was just like a little sprig with the first 2 leaves on it in 2009. So it's really, blogs was really running the cut back then. And I remember searching because I wanted to save my relationship at that time. And I'm like, well, if this person is a narcissist, I want to know how to fix it. And 99.9% of all of the websites was like, you ain't fixing this. It is done. It is absolutely done. It's over. Throw in the towel. And I found this one website, one little lonely website with this woman who said that she was able to work her way through the relationship that she had with a narcissist. And I wrote her, I was like, please help me. I remember all of that. This is a real story. I'm just in that space today. I told you I'm a little bit, you know what I mean? And I was like, yo, can you help me? Because I was totally lost. So I understand what it means to wake up and not understand what has been happening to you, not have the words to you know the feeling, but you don't know what words are there. You don't know how to put it together. You don't know why it's happening. You don't know where it's coming from, the confusion, all of that. Yeah, it was way different, right? Yeah, sweet. Yo, internet back then, blogs was running the cut. You had to go through them terrible HTML looking black. Listen, if you have a blog, please do not put black background on white writing. That joint used to burn my little eye sockets out. But I was reading though, because I wanted to know, I wanted to understand, right? So and I've come a long way. I've come a long way. And so when I see, the concept being reintroduced, and now it's becoming something that's so normalized in the community, but the way in which it's used is something that's going to lose a lot of people, because how do you attract a narcissist? Who is attracted to narcissists and why? Right? All of this stuff is interesting. If you say this person is a narcissist, and you'd be like, well, how did you fall for them? Right? Because if a narcissist is somebody who has on this facade, right, and they are not real and they're authentic, then you must ask yourself, why do you keep manifesting narcissists in your life? It's either one of two things. Either you are a narcissist or you're codependent, right? So when you start to go a little bit deeper, when you start to dig, you have to back up from the conversation and be like, oh, chill, it might be me. It might be me. I might be the problem. Right? And I had to have that moment many, many years ago. But let me, I told you today's open mic kind of vibration. Let me share my screen and go over here. Because right now it's just being too willy-nilly, y'all. It's too willy-nilly. And it's setting people, you remember that old song, punks jump up to get beat down. It is gassing. It's putting a battery on a lot of people's back who's really, really not ready and prepared, because they did not do the in-depth study of narcissism and understand how it works and not know how to move through it. I said it before. Well, the lady is new. But Sam Vaknin opened the gate. Sam Vaknin helped me to understand, because it's really from the inside. It's like the ex-hacker that now works for the good guys, right? He really broke it wide open, because anybody looking from the outside in is trying to explain what's going on in the mind of a narcissist. But the new guys that are coming out that are diagnosed narcissists, I'm telling you what's really good. I'm telling you, it's priceless. It is absolutely priceless. Wait a minute. Let me move this screen. See, these are kind of stuff oftentimes that I understand, but everybody has their part to play. Narcissistic personality disorder, right? It's DSM, this diagnostic manual, right? This is what the psychiatrists and all of them get to go by. This is how they diagnose, put in, and take out certain disorders that they are able to classify people as. So this was at the 3. This is at the 4. You can read it at your own discretion. And now I think they're up to 5, if I'm not mistaken. So they've added things on from the DSM-3 to the DSM-4 to DSM-5. Now, the thing with narcissists that people don't realize is that there are many different types. It's like tomatoes. It's like apples. Okay, it's an apple. But the reason why you get caught out there is because you think you have the narcissist pegged, And you don't, because there's different varieties of narcissism. And when you think you've escaped the grandiose narcissist, oops, you just found a covert one, right? And you're like, what? Covert narcissists? I didn't even know they existed. Yes, they exist. So sometimes it's good to step back a little bit, right? So let's go over. Truthful Perspective says a lot of preachers say that the Jezebel spirit is narcissistic, but the bigger culprit is the enemy. Pharaoh seems like a narcissist. I mean, right now he's presenting as having, I don't know the dude, but he is presenting as having narcissistic qualities. Now, if he checks off the people who may know him, or if he checks off a certain amount of boxes, then you say he has the disorder, right? So there's a difference between, there's many people, we the people, like I said in that video many years ago, have narcissistic tendencies, let's call them. Many people have tendencies. It doesn't mean they're a full-blown narcissist. A full-blown narcissist is a totally different ball game. So we may see people who, or you may, like I said, you may be a sociopath, you may be bipolar. Basically, you have a chemical disorder, manic depressive, which is bipolar. There are all these other things that have these very extreme behaviors that overlap, but not necessarily a full-blown narc. Okay, but so we're going to look at this is 4. I'm going to jump down to 5 because I'm not trying to make this all the way long. By the time we get to 5, let me put this link in the box so you can see the progression. It's like they said before, they put certain things in there, and as time went on, they took it out, right? So a lot of things that's happening now, back in the day, they would have been classified as a mental illness. I'll just leave it at that. So let me see here. All right, DSM-5, diagnostic criteria. Can we make this any bigger? Make it bigger. No, it's not making it bigger. Anyway, a perversive pattern of grandiosity in fantasy or behavior. I'm the best to ever do it. There's none like me. And if we're going to use the young Pharaoh, YP, as an example, he does have some of this going on. A lot of grandiosity going on. Need for admiration. A person who always needs to be seen, always needs to be heard, always needs to be the loudest. Again, this is one type of narcissist. Because there's another type of narcissist that doesn't exhibit this. Okay, so they exaggerate achievements and talents, expects to be recognized as superior without commensurate achievements. So you should and remember, children, that's why they say it's a natural phase of development. Children will try something for the first time and swear blind they're the best to ever do it. Like my child will be like, Mommy, isn't it? I'm like, yo, bro, you could do that again. But in their mind, I did it one time and it's the best, right? And so that's a natural progression as we grow. But if we get stuck there, as the narcissist often does, if they get over adoration as a child, or if they get neglected as a child, they may get stuck in this, I can do anything, I can fly, right? It says here, is preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, and or ideal love. Once again, this is another development as a child. Whatever your fantasy was, whatever you made up in your mind, this is when your imagination was boundless, okay? Oftentimes, again, I have to keep saying this, that the narcissist gets stuck in this space, right? 3, believes that he or she is special, unique, and can only be understood by or should associate with other special or high status people or institutions. I went to Harvard. I went to Yale. Did you go to such and such? And I belong to da-da-da-da, right? Okay. Requires excessive admiration. Now, this is not just some random blog saying this. This is what's their criteria. This is the criteria for the narcissist. So if you're going to go and say this person's a narcissist, you read down all of these things and see if the person checks these boxes. Requires excessive admiration. You're the best. You're the greatest. You're the best to ever do it. Like if they walk into the room and you're not praising them, if they walk into the room and you're not saying they're the best to ever do it, if they cook a meal and you're not saying, oh my goodness, I don't know, I've never tasted anything like it, then you might suffer their wrath. This person might. I like to call them touched. They might be touched a little bit, right? Number 5, has a sense of entitlement. unreasonable expectations of especially favorable treatment or autonomic compliance, with his or her expectations. So they push their agenda on you. They feel entitled to your time, to your energy, to your money, to your resources, to your body. The narcissist doesn't respect boundaries, essentially. 6 is interpersonally exploitive, takes advantage, they're missing the E right here, of others to achieve his or her, so they're basically exploitive. They will exploit you for their own gain, right? But never you, ever you put that back. So basically, to me, the narcissist is negotiating from a position of weakness to a certain degree. They're they need something from you. This is how you know that it's a developmental part or stage of development. When we're in childhood, we need a lot of things we need confirmation from the outside world. We need affirmation. We need encouragement from our parents, our caretakers, our teachers, our siblings. And if we don't receive that, or if we receive too much of it, it develops this imbalance in us, what we're calling narcissistic personality disorder, right? Where are we at? 7, lacks empathy, is unwilling to recognize or identify with the feelings and needs of others. Okay, that's pretty self-explanatory. So, like I said before, if they do something to you, it doesn't mean anything. But if you do something to them, it's the worst thing ever, right? Is often envious of others or believes that others are envious of him. They're not always talking about somebody is a hater. I don't know. I've seen it. I have people on my social media. Everybody is a hater. Everybody's coming for them. Everybody. I'm like, bruh, come on, stop it. Ain't nobody even looking at you. But okay. 9, shows arrogant, haughty behaviors or attitudes. So this is the 9 criteria they have here, and you would know that by actually knowing the person and seeing the person's behavior. Proposed diagnostic criteria, I'm not going to go through all of it. You can click on and take a look. Identity, self-direction, empathy, and intimacy. You're not really connecting with the true person. They can only mirror you back to you for a limited amount of time because they're trying to pull you in. Therefore, if you are attracted to or beguiled by a narcissist, there is some level of vulnerability in you, right? And so oftentimes we tend to blame the narcissist, but the question is, why are they able to get over on some but not others? Because if they try to fish or bait you and there's nothing there, they're going to move on. So the fact that we're responsive, we the people, that means that there's something in us that attracts that type of individual. And that is a point where we cannot necessarily change their behaviors, but we can look at our own selves and see what's going on with that. Because it's always about self-growth, right? Grandiosity, attention seeking. Again, that's one type of narcissist. Let me see here. They have different personality disorders. Again, obsessive compulsive, schizophrenia, paranoid, mania. But that's not the one I'm looking for. I was looking for, hold on, let me drop this. You have the different types of narcissists. Let me see if I can, because you might see somebody who's quiet. The person is to themselves. You're like, oh, this person is cool. This person is not a narc, right? But they may be the covert type. And you had no idea. That happened to me. I had no idea, right? Because the person is not any of those things that you just saw in that list. Here we go. The guy, Sam Vaknin, he self-describes as a malignant narcissist. So let's just look at one more thing. And then I'm going to open the mic. Grandiose expectations. The devil wants to be like the Most High. He's stuck in arrogance. I mean, yeah, it's a lot to process. I would say that. I would say a lot of what we are seeing in others is an opportunity to learn. I would say that. The different types of narcissism. Look at the dude face. Okay. The overt, that's the one we are usually classified, the loud, the grandiose, the extracurricular. An overt narcissist is proud of their ability to manipulate and control others. They exploit people from personal gain, and their methods are clear and overt. They don't hide anything, right? They use deception, scandal, they chase power. That's overt. That's the textbook narcissist. They have a covert narcissist. I didn't learn this till later. They are not as open or direct about their means of manipulation. They tend to use the following methods to get what they want from others: passive aggression, guilt tripping, emotional manipulation. Okay? You have the classic narcissist, and I'll put this link in the box. You have the vulnerable narcissist. This is interesting, right? Vulnerable, seek attention by seeking pity. They're poor me. I talk about this at the Soul Center. It was written in the Celestine Prophecy. There's a book that talks about how we go about getting energy. So the vulnerable or narcissist essentially is the poor me person. So they tell you all about the bad things that happened and how everybody used them, how everybody exploited them, and they don't know why because they're just such as good of a person. This person may be the vulnerable narcissist. They often guilt trip the people in their lives to bend to what they want. They are manipulative. Their ability to manipulate the thoughts, feelings, and actions of others in an ego trip for them. The behavior tends to be subtle, so it can be difficult to spot the signs. They're considered covert narcissists. Okay? Yeah. Malignant narcissism. Malignant narcissists are exploitive of others and are very manipulative. They're often considered sociopaths and are incapable of empathizing with others. Malignant narcissists manipulate and exploit their friends, family, and peers for personal gain. They have no conscience. They enjoy watching people struggle and feel oppressed. They enjoy seeing others suffer. The Sam Vaknin guy, he self-identifies as a malignant narcissist, which is crazy, okay? And he gives it straight, no chaser. So if you want to kind of understand what you may be experiencing, or, and it could come in any form. The wild thing is that all of these viruses, let's say it's a personality type of virus, they manifest themselves differently if it's in the parent or if it's in the sibling or if it's in the child. So we may be used to it coming in one way, but if we've been exposed to it and we developed our own maladaptive way of reasoning with such type of people, we may find ourselves attracted to said type of energy in a mate or in a boss or in a teacher or in your child, right? So these are all things that we have to be careful of. Cerebral narcissists believe they are superior intelligence. They believe they are smarter than others and enjoy displaying their intelligence. They will often do so by debating, arguing, and contradicting people. Cerebral narcissists try to impress the people around them with their academic and career success. A lot of this happens in the conscious sector of YouTube, right? It's like you're arguing just to argue. Like, where is the end of this argument? Like, what are we trying to get to? That person may be a cerebral narcissist. And what happens is the community is like, yo, that person is on point, or that person is lit, or that person got knowledge. And you don't know that you're feeding this narcissist. And then we turn around and see somebody who's clearly a narcissist or has narcissistic tendencies and can identify that, but not identify the fact that we're feeding narcs in other realms. Somatic narcissists find their value in their looks. They find value in material possession and looks and want others to envy or be dazzled by their beauty and extravagant lifestyle. Look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. So the somatic, the cerebral, the malignant, the vulnerable, the classic, the covert, and the overt all manifest differently. If you don't hear nothing else I've said in this whole conversation, they all manifest differently. Don't think you got it pegged, because once you think you got it pegged, boom, you get hit another direction. Why? Because the fact that you're attracted to them shows that there's something more in you than it is in them. Okay. Thank you, Bryce. Bryce says great information, because I hear this the buzzwords is happening, and people are unknowingly feeding into the very thing that they're fighting against. That shows that we the people haven't really taken enough time to kind of break down this topic and be aware of the underlying. And usually, yeah, energy jacking, exactly. Energy jacking is deep. Energy jacking is the way in which people manipulate and interface with others to extract energy. Now, I'm not going to skip topic, but it's the same thing. I talked about it in Solonomics, which is just a collective of information and knowledge that I got on this journey. And Solonomics is just me expressing that and sharing with others, because sometimes people be like, what did you do and what did you study and how did you learn? And basically what I did was went to the base of understanding, was my search for understanding self. That's what I did. And then I had to, like I said before, assess my reality, which my reality is not your reality. My upbringing is not your upbringing. So you will have to assess that for yourself. Solonomics just gives the blueprint for you to do so. You may have been raised by a narcissist. You may have been raised by a codependent. You may have been raised by a healthy person. You may have been raised by a sociopath. You may have been raised by a bipolar. Who knows? Only you know. And the other people who were there with you. So we always like to talk about we need therapy, but we don't want to actually go through and do the things that we need to be honest about where we're coming from. Like the grandmother's secrets that I shout out to the doctor who came and shared. I enjoyed that because it was an opportunity for us to look at the things that oftentimes we don't want to look at because, oh, that was grandma, or that was grandpa, or that was mom's, that was pops, that's older sister, that's older brother. That person may have had an issue, clearly. Like when I did the research on R. Kelly's older sister, clearly there was something going on with Teresa. I think that was her name. Clearly. Okay? Clear. And oh, wait, pause, because I said this is open mic, right? I'm going to drop the link. So it's going to be open mic. I'm not going to be ranting, but open mic. So as somebody said something, and then I started looking up blaxploitation, and the person was like, Amuna, why did you bring that up? That has nothing to do with the price of tea in China. And I'm like, actually it does, right? Because we usually jump from the 60s all the way to the 80s and 90s. No way. There's something happened between 69, 70, and 80. And it's the whole what was termed the blaxploitation era. So to be up on my game as I'm ready to have, meaningful discussion, you feel me? Because I'm like, okay, let me go do some studying. Yo, why? All I have to say is why. I went and looked at what was one of the first videos or movies that was by Mario, what's his name? Mario Van Peebles. That's his name. I don't want to lie on him. I don't want to lie on him, man. Hold on, let me drop this screen. It was Sweet Baby, somebody, baby back, something. Okay. So I'm over here like, okay, so this was one of the first videos that kicked off the blaxploitation era. So I was like, okay, Amuna, you're going to watch a little bit of it. Why did I? Why did I? So the opening scene, the opening scene is exactly what R. Kelly, it's his son. What's his father's name? No, that's Mario Van Peebles. Sorry, Mario. That's your daddy. What's Mario Van Peebles' daddy name? Melvin. Okay, Mr. Melvin, it's you. Let me put your face up on the screen. I have been thoroughly traumatized by this right here, Mr. Melvin. Okay, I'm not advising anybody to go over here and look at this, but what it did do was strike a chord with what I was researching. When I was researching R. Kelly, him right here, people, it's him. You see his face? Look, oh, y'all can't see him. Hold on, let me take my thing off so y'all can see this dude. There you go. There you go. Okay. He is charged with look at his face. I don't even want to say nothing about you, Mr. Melvin, but I got a question. So Melvin is charged with kicking off Sweet Baby nastiness, is what I'm going to call it. He is most well known for creating and starring in the film. Let me see if you guys can see it, because then I'll just be reading it and you can't see it, right? Let's read a little bit about Melvin. I know I'm jumping, but it's open mic, so it's going to be all good in the hood. Melvin, during this time, right after civil rights, okay, Melvin wants to go to Hollywood. Because I went and read about him and watched his documentary. Melvin wants to go to Hollywood. They're like, nah, Melvin, we don't want you. So Melvin says he's going to go do his PhD with, I don't want to lie on him, overseas in Europe, right? I don't remember, Amsterdam, one of these places, right? Melvin does some little films over there, some short films, and he gets entered into this film contest. Then the people who rejects him in America is like, "Oh, Melvin, what you doing over there? Why don't you come over here?" So he does a film, Watermelon Man, and then after which he does this film, which kicks off the blaxploitation era, which many melanated people gladly participated in. Sweetback's Bad Blinky Song. This movie has traumatized me to the point that I did not finish watching it. Because the opening scene of the woman taking what is proverbially known as a hoe bath, the opening scene, it looked very, like they said, dude, what type of cinema was this? So when the people are over here saying that it's this person who did this and that person who did this and the color purple is not true, I need somebody to come to the stage and explain to me Sweet Baby B-Back's movie, because what in the world? The scenes were way too long. It was borderline pornography. I had to turn the joint off because it was ridiculous. I'm like, I'm not going to be polluting my brain for this madness. But what it helped me to understand is that according to him, he wasn't seeing a representation of the Black community in Hollywood. So he decided to make this film himself. And the audience, check it out, ate it up. But what was he presenting? Homosexuality was in that movie. Child abuse was in the movie. Prostitution was in the movie. The Sweet Baby Badback, whatever you want to call him, he was a male prostitute who was laying with women in public clubs. I have questions to all the people who want to skip an entire decade as if it did not exist to get to the 80s, to Color Purple, who has also traumatized me, and to the 90s for Shahrazad Ali, but does not want to talk about the highly protested and contested period of the blaxploitation era. Thank you, Melvin Van Peebles. What was the reason? I don't know. Yes, Sweetback's back. Sweetback somebody. The reason for me, he said, let's get it, shall we? Let's go. Let Melvin tell you himself. Let me go over here because it's kind of open mic today. And I had to sit my little behind down somewhere for a second. After that, wait, Melvin, let Melvin tell you why he did Sweet Baby Bad Book. So Melvin Van Peebles. I should have saved it. Hold on, peoples. Yeah. Here it is. Let's listen to Melvin tell us why he did it. Because sometimes, what's the reason? We want to know what's the reason, Melvin. So let's go over here and have Melvin tell us, shall we? All right.
Hello, I'm Mark Perrino, and tonight here in the Tuber studio we have Melvin Van Peebles with us. How you doing?
Hi, how you doing, Mark?
Nice to have you with us. You're here in Detroit for your new film, right?
That's right.
Which is called Sweetback Badass Song.
Yeah, that's
Tell us a little
right.
bit about the film.
Well, it's a film about a brother who changes from an exploiter of the black community, he's a stud, a pimp, into a brother who wants to aid the community or wants to stand up on his own hind legs, which of course is against the man's idea he's cut out for him.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's got to run, and it's the story of his fight for survival.
Now, you not only wrote the film, but produced and directed and did the movie soundtrack to it, Drew.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
The film is rated X.
It's rated X by an all-white jury. That is, under the present setup, if you don't submit the film to the Motion Picture Board Association, you
That's
have to
the
take,
MPAA.
That's the MPAA. You have to take what is called a self-imposed X. Jack Valenti, the president of MPAA, the Motion Picture Association, claims that you don't have to take a self-imposed X, but all of the papers refuse to run an ad unless it has a rating from the Motion Picture Association on it.
Are there any black people on that board?
No, the jury's all white. That's why in my ad I had written rated X by an all-white jury. However, some of the papers here refuse to run that, once again under the guise of some sort of general policy. They wouldn't run the real honest truth concerning that X. Also, the white establishment papers would not run the full title of the film.
How about the underground press, the underground media?
It's together.
Yeah, are they going to carry the ads far?
Yeah, they're going to carry the ads as they're actually written. The title of the film is Sweet Sweetback's Badass Song.
What's a sweetback?
Well, a sweetback man is a stud or a pimp, who's somebody who balls the chick well. And if you do it correctly, I'm sure you know, you use your back.
Yeah.
And so
Subsequently, sweetback.
you got a sweetback.
The film's going to be opening up at Grand Circus Theater in Detroit.
Yeah, it opened there at the 31st.
And we'll be showing for what, about 2 weeks?
Oh, I hope it'll be showing a lot longer than that.
You had some connection with the film that recently went around, Watermelon Man.
I directed Watermelon Man, and I.
Did you hear what he said a sweetback was? A pimp or a stud who slangs D, and if you do it correctly, they'll call you a sweetback. So John says that Hollywood created blaxploitation. Well, according to Melvin Van Peebles, it was him. So unless we can get some information as to, according to Melvin Van Peebles, Hollywood did not want to fund his show. He's going to go into talking about Watermelon Man, which Hollywood did give him an allocation for. Instead of 3 months to produce the film, they gave him 3 weeks. So let's listen to him talk about this, which was the introduction of this kind of blaxploitation film. So if you do believe Hollywood created it, what Hollywood did, according to my research, is that they realized that this is what melanated people wanted, and they were no longer attending movie theaters for the traditional films. And so when they realized that they can make these cheaper films with poorer production quality that would suit the taste of melanated people to come out to the box offices, then Hollywood started commercializing, but these type of films and came out with things like, what's it called? Shaft and Foxy Brown. Yes, as you can tell, I had to go do the research because this was very interesting. But we are looking at the man who produced the first very vile. It says it's rated X. It is vile. I don't know. It is vile. I didn't finish watching it because it is vile. And it reminds me of the description that R. Kelly gives in his book Solar Coaster for what he experienced as a young child. Vile. But let's continue. Maybe he was recalling some of what he saw in Sweetback movie. But let me continue. Let me just hold on.
I composed the score.
Godfrey Cambridge was in that film. In case you didn't see it, it was a film, very briefly, about a white man who was portrayed by Godfrey Cambridge, who in the beginning of the film is white through an excellent makeup job. And then later on, how does that transaction happen?
He gets up one night to take a crap, and he discovers that he's turned black. Just that simple.
Turned black, and that's the dialogue of the film. I've heard white and black call that blackface in reverse.
Probably so. Originally, the script called for, well, not the script, but the producers called for a white actor to play the role in blackface, and I nixed that, and
that would have been blackface.
All right, I'm just going to leave this here. I'm going to put the link in the box if you would like to watch more about this. This is when the film was actually taking place. This is 1971. I believe the film came out in 1971. And so if you want to contest whether or not it was Hollywood that created blaxploitation, actually, I was looking at the research about blaxploitation was a term that was termed by, I don't want to even tell a lie on the name of the man because y'all know how I am with name. But he is the one, when they were, a lot of melanated people were contesting these type of films, especially this film and others that preceded it. And as a result, there was one man, I think it was a man in particular, that merged black and exploitation together and named it blaxploitation. So I want to see who coined it. I know I picked that up somewhere. Hold on one second. So they talk about Old Color Purple was contested. Color Purple was contested. So was this. But we just gonna go ahead and jump over all the 70s that created the people that existed in the 80s and 90s. Let's just not do that and say we did. Let's just not do that. Let's just be honest about pulling it out all on the carpet and being and saying that even some people were upset. I was looking at one of the actresses, not Foxy Brown. There was another one who was upset that they lost their jobs when it basically got played out and they didn't want to do blaxploitation movies anymore, and so it got played out and they didn't get roles again for a whole nother year. Let me pull up the screen. I see T Dawn in the spot. I'm gonna open up the mic so she could come forward. I just want to give you this information as it is coming to my mind because y'all already know how it is. We want to see who coined the term, so we're going to go here. His name is Junius Griffin. The term blaxploitation was coined by Junius Griffin, the then head of the Los Angeles National Association of Advancement of Colored People, aka NAACP, in the early 70s as a criticism for the less than positive images of African Americans depicted in the genre. His influence, let's click this. So there were many people who were hollering about what in the world are you doing and why are you depicting our people in this way? Hypersexualized, excessively violent. And we see right again, Melvin is at the forefront of this whole, he was the Spike Lee of his day. He was Spike before what's the movie Spike made? The movie just jumped out of my mind. And then Hollywood came in. He made a number of them. So you can read about the man whose name is, again, Junius. When you leave here, you're going to leave with a little information so that we don't have to be beefing about what we think. We can, all study from different areas and then come together. Now, let's see if Junius Griffin was black because, some people like, that he wasn't black. Let's go look, shall we? It's Google. Hold on. Junius Griffin. Okay. Let's look at what he looked like. Because it's the internet. Uh-oh. Y'all know I like PDFs and actual. I'm not going to read it right now, though. But oh, okay. I said I wasn't going to read it right now. Let's just read a little bit. But let's go look at what Junius looks like first. Boom. So clearly, Junius Griffin is a brother. Let me see here. Okay, so there were people who were like, this is bad look. And let me just say, that movie was a bad look. I didn't even finish the movie. It was such a bad look. It was terrible look. It was absolutely terrible, yo. I mean, anyway. That's why, what is this? The 70s, they show X-rated stuff in the theaters. Do the Right Thing. Thank you, Bryce. It was Do the Right Thing. There was a few others that Spike did, but Melvin was Spike before Spike was Spike. Let me bring T-Dawn to the spot. T-Dawn, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you so much, Amuna. Can you hear me okay?
Hello? T-Dawn?
Hello?
Yep, we can hear you.
Hello?
Hello?
Okay. I think hello?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, my raggedy mic setup is kind of may prevent me from just speaking my mind this evening, but basically, I had a lot of thoughts from narcissism to black exploitation to Melvin Van Peebles, but basically, I'm not trying to derail your wonderful presentation on what you want to bring out about just the fact of in-depth study, which I find that a lot of people, I don't know if they don't have the time to do it or they just don't want to do it or don't know how to do it. But I don't think that's the point as much. I mean, not that you don't know this, Amuna. I guess the idea of content, always having content, means that you won't take the time or you don't have the time to do in depth study. And Amuna, frankly, I don't know how you are able to do it. I think it's prolific, the amount of time that you spend bringing forth content, and you've been doing this for years. But, I just think about the fact that, I've heard, I don't know if this is true, that it takes 3 generations to make a career. And when I hear that your mom was also a scholar, okay, I see where we're going here. I see how this is building. But I guess what I was trying to say that really doesn't have anything to do with Melvin Van Peebles or narcissism. I was thinking about the movie, the Picture of Dorian Gray, and just how uh, I feel like Melvin Van Peebles, the term "ate up." That's just how he looks. Like the decisions, the base the base decisions that he made in his life just really showed up in his physical appearance. And maybe I'm just making all kinds of wrong assumptions, but I just think that you can't live that kind of base lifestyle and try to claim some sort of, I'm not having a cogent thought. I need to think more about what I really want to say. But concerning narcissism, that's a very scary thing, that there can be covert, somatic, all kinds of narcissists. But I guess concerning narcissism and the traits and all the boxes that you need to tick, yeah, none of those are fruits of the spirit. So maybe if you're looking for fruits of the spirit, you can avoid narcissists. But I don't know that for a fact. I don't know. And I love how you pointed out that to be attracted to a narcissist means it might be something in you. So if you were ever beguiled by a narcissist, mm.
Yep.
So Melvin Van Peebles, what was the reason? Thank you for the space, Amuna.
You good. You good, sis. Can you hear me? I'm not sure if Sweet Tea can hear me, but
Yeah,
thank
yes.
you. Okay. No, thank you. I mean, it's kind of one of those days today, so I followed you everywhere you went just now. And when you said Melvin Bad Peebles look kind of ate up, I went back to go look at his picture. I'm like, yeah, he do look like, I mean, sweet baby back, so whatever he said. Yeah. Uh, it's just like you said, I don't expect everyone to process the information the same, right? Because we all learn differently and we can all come to knowledge differently and all of that. I'm really speaking, I think, to the responsibility that many content creators have in the way that they're pushing out information to people who trustingly listen, right? And who will take the information that they've been given and try to apply it or misapply it in their lives. And so that and this is why I take content very seriously, even when I'm on a day off like this, where I never want to, just for the sake of producing something, put anything out there that I can't take back. And this is just also for the listener, because oftentimes when I listen to other channels, I'm a listener, I'm an observer. And it's only because, of what I've been through that I'm filtering a lot of what I'm hearing. But some people, for instance, I'm gonna bring up 90 Day. Shout out to LF. He's like, I'm gonna be bringing up these shows, but I was watching a clip. I didn't watch the whole thing from 90 Day Fiance. Shout out to those who know what I'm talking about. So in the clip, Suelo goes to his friend, and he's seeking advice from this friend, and his friend, in a certain degree, ill advises him. But because he's unknowing, he goes back to Kalani and tries to say word for word what the friend gave him. Yeah, he wasn't prepared because it wasn't his thought. He didn't move through the thought. He didn't sift it out. He didn't do anything. He just airlifted it from what his friend said he should ask her, what he should do, to the situation. And when she pushed back, he didn't know what to do. And that's kind of how we do. We go to our friends or our favorite YouTube channel, our favorite podcast, whatever, and we airlift this information that they're giving us. And we may be busy. We may not have the time. There may be so many other things going on, and we may think we have the answer, only to dig ourselves in a deeper hole. Right? We may like, oh, forget this person. You're gonna dump this person. This the person. They're a narcissist. I'm gonna gray rock them. I'm gonna ghost them, I'm gonna go no contact, and I'm living my best life. And the next thing you know, the person turns around and out of the frying pan into the fire, because they went from not knowing what they were dealing with and not processing it, to making it worse. Basically, is what I'm saying. We see that also in a lot of the health community, where somebody may get a diagnosis. They detoxed before. They've eaten nothing but junk food. They get a diagnosis of cancer, high blood pressure, whatever. They go to the internet, and the internet says, take all of these herbs, do all this thing, and you shall be good. And I've seen people die because they don't understand the process of detoxing, because they don't understand that it doesn't work like that. That herbs are not magical pills that as soon as you take them, voila. You know what I mean? So I've seen other sides and the dangers, the health that information can give, but the danger if we misapply it because of our ignorance and our unwillingness to kind of. So for instance, concerning detox, can I be heard? I don't know if I can be heard. Concerning detox, if you have poisoned your system so much and all of your organs are overtaxed and your liver is overtaxed and your kidneys are overtaxed and your gallbladder that has stones in them, you can't just go taking no heavy duty herbs that take these for 7 days, because the way that detox works is that it's going to pull out the toxins and then it's going to put them where. So even when I was sharing years ago about detoxing with people, let me know if you guys can hear me. Oh, let me double check. Yeah, you can hear me. When I was sharing about detox and even colon cleanse, I've done a lot of things over the years, right? And I keep telling people it doesn't work like that. Then even a base understanding of how the body works, what puts what. If the liver is backed up, it's going to dump the toxins into the blood, right? If your colon is backed up, that means any toxic things that you're trying to flush off the body, if you're constipated, it doesn't have a clear avenue or a channel to leave. But some people will just have us to believe that this is the magic pill. Identify the person as the narcissist. Take these detox pills, and then it shall be well with you. It's not true. And people can get hurt just by not knowing the process. Everything has processes, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So if somebody, for instance, now back to what I'll leave on this note. If anybody has anything else to say, I've been watching this Golden and YP situation unfold. I briefly spoke about. First of all, I've been watching this young man from he came on YouTube. Okay. From he was on Sarnetta's TV. As I'm driving, I have a long drive. I get to hear and see what's going on. I've been watching him since then. I watched as he grew. I watched as he deviated. I watched as more and more of these narcissistic traits, as people are saying, developed and were cultivated. And they were, because we're in a community that praises knowledge without wisdom and application of said knowledge, he was able to, thank you, he was able to move through the ranks. So as much as I can stuff and regurgitate, is more people who are going to flock, because we have to understand that one of the injuries for the people, melanated people, is a lack of knowledge. For lack of knowledge, the people perish. This is one of the injuries. So if you see one of the injuries and you see somebody that is getting to a certain space in this community, usually it's going to be somebody who's speaking to or has something that many people do not have. So for instance, I'm going to come back to the YP situation. The other few years ago, there was a big scandal about the guy with the fake hair. who was like, oh, I got miracle cream. I can't, y'all. I got miracle cream, and that's why my hair's so long. And because this is an area of concentration where many people, many women and men are suffering with hair loss, hair damage, alopecia, all of this type of things, it pulls people over to that direction because that's an injury. That's a space of injury. Yeah. And so people will spend how much money on hair growth serums. And if you want to look at the Benny Harlem, thank you, India Harlem. Thank you, India B. Remember that with the long hair? And then he had the little daughter, and they was like, oh, and they found out it was a weave and it was crazy, right? So, but what happened? Look how many people made him what he was. Why? Because he was selling the answer to what many people were lacking. So it is with the conscious community. I did a video years ago called Consciousness is Not Righteousness. And every so often the video comes back up again because at that point I realized that people are misconstruing these two. Consciousness is not righteousness. Just because you're conscious, that means you're aware, doesn't mean you're righteous. And what people are mistakenly and oftentimes to their own detriment, they're asserting that because this person knows so much, I assume they're doing so much. You're not, just because you know so much doesn't mean you're doing so much. So when we see many of what people would call snakes, oil salesmen, or charlatans, or people who can speak a good game, we love people who can speak a good game because it goes back to energy and vibration. We love people who can drum up emotions in us. Sometimes the information that it takes to sit down and process the information, because we, the people, for a long period of time, has been in this heightened state of awareness. It takes, we weren't necessarily afforded or allotted the time to sit down and process. Even when you read about, and I know I'm drifting a little from YP, but I'm going to get back there. Even when you read about how many enslaved peoples ate their meals, it was in a rush, it was in a hurry. So even when you look at meals and you look at information, it's not an ability to process this information. I got to eat real quick and get back to what I'm doing. Right? So we do that oftentimes with the way, oh, I don't have any time to break it down. This person already broke it down. So let me just get it and then apply it. Right? And so we're doing this in many spaces and it's to our own detriment. So the one person comes along and they could speak fast and they could speak a good game and they can rhyme and it sounds good and they can hype us up and they got good diss tracks and we euphoria. You understand? And then we take the misinformation because we allowed it to pour into our souls. And then we look for places in our lives to mess up even more. We look for places in our lives to say, see, such and such was right. See, and now we don't see anything but the gray skies. We don't see any beauty. We don't see any joy. We don't see any peace because we keep feeding on this misinformation, disinformation. Or we're just eating so much that we just cannot process it. So anyway, back to this situation. So I watched over the last few years as people put him up on this pedestal. I talked about on this video idolatry and how that works. I'll have to go look for the video and put it in the link below, but not right now. So people kind of put this person in this idolatrous space, right, in their minds because of knowledge puffed up, right? Knowledge, too much knowledge without application, it makes the person haughty. So we're watching now. I almost forget. I said I wasn't going to forget. Y'all help me. We're watching how the relationship is playing out. We're watching power dynamics. We're watching people speaking preemptively. We're watching indecisiveness because these are young 20-something-year-olds. We're watching what it looks like when the expectation is he makes the money and you just take care of the house. But the same thing I've been talking about all this time is the way that if submission creates a vulnerability, right? So now this young woman is vulnerable. What's her name? Golden Beauty. She's vulnerable because she was in the house, because she did not have marketplace value, because she was looking after her children. When you go to the marketplace, you can't negotiate with that. So when some people talk about feminism took the man out of the home, we are looking at in real time the weaknesses of a quote traditional relationship that goes wrong. She, in this space, has no recourse. So when you had grandmothers and great grandmothers looking at this, they taught their young daughters, go to school. This is why we see in this conversation, if you've been following the story, the part of the contention is this young girl has realized that if I don't have any marketplace value, I'm going to be susceptible to whatever this man says and does. So you see, in this narrative, she begins to realize I have to go get some type of education. I have to make myself, even though I'm bringing value to my home and my children, I have to make sure that the primary thing, the food, clothing, and shelter, I'm not wholly depending on someone else to provide. So when you have people like Kevin Samuels and the Manosphere representing or repackaging this old idea as though it's new and that as if it didn't have its faults to begin with, it's like, oh, look at this new thing that's really old, and I'm going to pretend that all of the broken things are not really broken to sell it to people who are end up falling back into this very hole. It's open mic today, so I'm not as succinct as I usually am. So my point is, it saddens to see that one day what somebody who was exhibiting, I would say, narcissistic traits, what the person as a public figure is able to do and feel because they've been given the power and the bigger platform to do so, to make the person capitulate, make the person apologize, make the person, because if what, you're not going to eat, you're not going to drink, you're not going to live anywhere. And doing it in a very public way, because the question really is, who's going to hold me accountable? And that's another issue in the community, that we can watch people being abused, just like during the time of enslavement. You can watch somebody being violated because we are not autonomous to a certain degree, because we do not have the power to hold one another accountable, we just watch helplessly as it's unfolding in front of us. And these are some of the reasons, not just feminism. These are some of the reasons that the so-called Black family began to break apart, if we want to be honest. If we want to be honest. So that's my thoughts on that. It's saddening to watch, but it's a reality that even just a few weeks before we began to see it unfold, we were being told doesn't exist. Let me drink a little water. I'm gonna put the link in the box. Anybody want to share? So if you just came in, the new N word is narcissism. We went back over some information. There's different types of narcissists. Please don't believe the hype. If you're attracting countless narcissists, there may be something that you want to look at. There may be something that you were exposed to as a child that normalized this dysfunctional behavior. One of which would be to be raised by a narcissist, whoever your caretaker was, or to, and usually I'll say this, if you're raised by a narcissist, it usually goes two ways. It can go other ways, but one way is that you become a narcissist, and the other way is that you become a codependent, which is where you seek out other narcissists to kind of try to correct the things that you saw wrong in your life as you were growing up. And let me just say that doesn't work. So you could go ahead and not do that. That doesn't work. You really have to just be honest about what you experienced. This is the link right here, how it affected you. And you really just have to go on your own healing journey. Sometimes the inclination would be to go to the person and get them to admit they were wrong. And you have a boo-hoo, y'all fix my life moment. It don't always work like that. But what you can do is be honest, retract, examine, make peace with, be willing to let go and move beyond, so that you can, I'll say this. I saw a post earlier today, and then after that, I'm going to wind down. I saw a post earlier today that, and I talked about this at another time, that sometimes we think our soulmate, it's a soulmate or a twin flame, but it's actually a karmic partner. And I spoke about this before. The reason why we think it's a soulmate is because that karmic partner is coming with familiar energy. So it is with the narcissist attract to the narcissist, or the narcissist attract to the codependent. It's a familiar energy. And because we haven't dealt or resolved our pre-existing issues, we think that this familiar energy is meant to be. That this familiar energy is the love we've been looking for. And in actuality, it's just familiar. Queen T, what's going on? The person is just familiar. And we feel comfortable with people and things that are familiar. Things that are unfamiliar make us feel uncomfortable. So if you're coming from toxicity, if you're coming from a place of whatever you experienced, understand that those familiar things can be toxic. They can be toxic and familiar at the same time. You understand? And just because they, oh, I know this doesn't mean it's good. It can be toxic and familiar. Now, I'm not suggesting anybody go back and watch Sweet Baby, whatever their name is. But for people who may have saw it at a younger time, they could go back and be like, wow, this is familiar, but it's also very toxic. I didn't know that it planted those seeds in my mind. I never saw the thing. Tell you the truth. That was my first time seeing it, and it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Well, I said I was, let me, this computer's a little thumbs up. Thank you so much. Let me see here. Let me give y'all one more thing. One more thing. I know I like to give a lot of takeaways. One more thing. There it is. Do 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 do. I like reading, even though as I'm getting older, my eyes be like, if you don't chill out, but I like reading. So this is there. I came across this article, so as I was talking to you guys, and so this article you could check out. This article right here, it talks about blaxploitation. I didn't read the fullness. I'm not going to read the fullness, but this is interesting. The blackness of blaxploitation, race, respectability, and African American popular culture in 1970s. It's 23 pages, so it's not that long. Most of it is notes, citations. But I think it would be an interesting talking point to have when we talk about what happened, the transition from civil rights right into another representation of melanated people in the media, which is one of the strongest ways to convey messages. And if Sweet Baby, let me just say, if Sweet Baby is the introduction of the melanated person using their own voice to tell their own story, I got questions. Okay, it starts out in a whorehouse, bruh, with a woman taking a whole bath over a chair with a bucket. That's how it starts out. We have questions. You know who else say they grew up in that space? Richard Pryor, if I'm not mistaken. Richard Pryor said he grew up in a whorehouse. This is very, very interesting stuff. What was going on, and why are we pretending that this wasn't going on? And the truth is, a lot of 80s and 90s rappers and hip hop artists paid homage to the blaxploitation era. That's to show you that those were the seeds and this was the fruit, right? Anywho, with that said, I'll just leave that in the box. Let me go over here real quick. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Seems we always feed ourselves poison. Yeah, sad but true. And it's because Billie Holiday also. Okay, and I watched that. How many people watched the Nyasha Bai? How many people watched the Billie Holiday biopic? No, it wasn't biopic. The Billie Holiday pic. How do you do this here? Let me see. I watched that one. That one was crazy, and she had some questionable practices. She had some domestic violence in her conversation. There was a lot going on there too. Oh, I know why I can't do it. Hold on one second. Y'all don't go nowhere. 1 second. I'm in the wrong account. Yeah, so Billie Holiday, that one was interesting as well. There was a lot of toxicity during that space and time. There was a lot of toxicity. You did. That was, what did you think? What did you think? She was walking around with those dogs all the time. Um, what else? It was just interesting to see that for many black entertainers at that time, entertainment was just an easier, some said it, an escape from having to do certain types of hard labor. And so instead of sweating and in one capacity, they were willing to sell the image of the people or mislead the images of the people for monetary gain. And that's just fact. Maybe we'll come back and read that article at another time. But that, it's all about being honest so we can move forward. So if anybody has anything else to say, feel free at this time. If not, I'm gonna go ahead and roll. I got some graphic work to do. Sense of control with yo, son. I, I'm telling you, I was traumatized. I was traumatized. I was like, yo, Mario, Melvin, whatever your name is, bruh, you didn't need to make a movie. You need to seek some therapy. You need to seek some. That was crazy. Yeah, a lot of them had toxicity in their lives. Eartha Kitt, they say, was a rape victim. I think she was a byproduct of rape. A lot of them. Michael Jackson, we see the abuses going on. Um, we see that Marvin Gaye had a tumultuous experience. His father took him out. Uh, yeah, a lot of the entertainers had very troubling lives, and that this space, this entertainment space, that's why it is my assertion that we were able to see such vulnerability in their soul because they were exposed in a lot of ways. So they were more open because pain and hurt and all of those things allows the person to be more open and more exposed, right? So we're able to see more of that. That's what draws people to the brokenness, really, is what people are being drawn to, that vulnerability. And we heard some questionable things about Whitney Houston. I mean, if you go back and think about Ike Turner, he's the one I wanted to talk about. Not going to do it now, but Ike Turner as well. We see a lot of these entertainers having very troubling lives. I wonder why. Yeah, yummycottage.com. Let me just say, let me do a little commercial, then I'll come back and tell y'all what is going on over at the Yummy Cottage. Hold on one second. We got to pay the bills right quick. Thank you for reminding me, Queen T. Thank you for.
This episode is sponsored by Yummy Curry Powder. Go on over to www.theyummycottage.com for your powder today.
Yeah, so before I let you go, you love the chicken season. Thank you, Queen T. Yes, Nick Cannon. We see a lot of issues going on with him. I love it too, Queen T. I put it on everything too. I put it on every. I listen. I even because you could make it into like a chicken broth or vegetable, not chicken broth, vegetable broth, and you put it on your seasoning. I mean, not seasoning. I put it in the water when I'm gonna make rice, so I season the rice with it as well, and the joint is lit. Let me just let you guys see what I've been working on. What happened to you guys? Hold on. Nick Cannon's a whole nother conversation. Whole nother conversation. So we have been updating the Yummy Cottage. If you'd like to support what's going on. Oh yeah, I spoke about it many times. I'll be willing to speak about my experience in Ethiopia as well as Israel. I think for me, it opened me up to understand. I used to be of the thought that it's just here, right? I used to be of that thought that, oh, this is just happening here. And if we get to this part, this will not happen. That's where I was in my mind. Actually, the videos you see me doing from earlier, those were uh, not too long after I came back and had the realization that wherever you go, there you shall be. Right? So I definitely got to talk about this. But for right now, you see, we have updated the Yummy Cottage. Updated the Yummy Cottage. I've been working diligently, y'all. So we updated the Yummy Cottage, meal preppers for locals. We have shopping grocery lists. Health and beauty is coming. Soaps, lotions, all that good stuff, as well as yummy lunch. So if you're local, you can get meal prep. If you want to support from wherever you are nationally, you just click on shop groceries and it all comes up. This is the chicken season that Queen T is talking about. If you want a variety pack, we hand blend all of these, just custom blend with low sodium, so you can add salt as you see fit. And as time goes on, if you have issues with digestion, like I was talking about, if you're not getting enough fiber in your diet, This digestive support is also blended with that in mind. It has moringa, it has chlorella, it has psyllium husk, which is something that helps, is fiber that helps bulk up your stool so you can go to the bathroom. Apple pectin is also a natural um, aid that helps pull the toxins from your. See, it got me going into health mode. But the apple pectin and the ginger, so everything that's in here has a specific purpose. And unlike some of the stuff where they have like 50 umpteen ingredients to make it sound like it's the bomb.com, this stuff is gentle enough for me to give my children. They be like, Mommy, put the good, in the juice. You can put it in your juice, you can put it in your water, you can put it in your tea. The good iron support is what I call it. And vitamin C, because we know iron and vitamin C helps iron to absorb. So I usually trouble with low iron. This is a lot of stuff I develop. It's stuff I need, and so some women and men have low iron, and so iron is something that I've always had issue with. And so this one is filled with, and you have the ingredients here: beets, spinach, nettle, moringa, hibiscus, uh, which is a cousin to sorrel, rose hips, lemongrass, and ginger. All of them plain. So you can come over here at the yummycottage.com. This is what I have been fixing. These green eggs, they're bossy. Let me just let you know. And we have natural pancake and waffle mix. I pride myself on nothing artificial, so I have no anti-caking agent in my, and these are natural. Anytime you see like certain preservatives or anti-caking agents in the seasoning, those are also going in the food. So it's put in small enough vials that you can use them up and not have to worry about them caking up on you. So definitely stop by the yummycottage.com, show your love and support. Um, and when I'm ready to launch the thing, I'll let you guys know. So let me see here. I left said I read between the lines about your experience in Ethiopia. When you told the story about your electricity bill, though, that was a real story. That was a real story. Uh, Truth and Perspective said I added Senegal to my list of potential places. Um, you know, uh, yeah, the green eggs is doing this thing. The green eggs is made from pepito, pumpkin seed. It has a similar amount of protein to uh, regular eggs, and so it has magnesium. Just check out pumpkin seed. So this is another way in which to eat the pumpkin seed. Let me just talk a little bit since it's open mic. Two for perspective say you consider Senegal. Like I was a person like it was time to get out, it's time to go. Let me go ahead and do this time and third. I had no problem with caution to the wind. The stuff that I talk about, personal growth and development, is to me became very important because at one point I thought it was the location until I realized it was we the people. When you measure it against what the Bible tells you, Israel cried when they was in Egypt, but they also cried when they was in the wilderness, and they also cried when they was in the promised land. So after a lot of reflection, I realized that it's within the people. No matter where we the people go, if we don't deal on with the things that cause us to stumble, it doesn't matter where we are. We can be in paradise and still complain, right? And another thing is when we go to different places, and there's a lot of people, like there's vlogging now. Back in the day, there was limited resources 10 years ago when we made the move. But today, there's a lot of people on YouTube. There's some things that you don't realize until you actually uproot and go to different places with whole different cultures and whole different understandings and whole different, there's one young girl I was watching, she was in Tanzania. She looked like life has visited her, and now she moved to Ghana when she realized that, and I could identify with her. A lot of people who may be on the outside of the situation may be like, oh, she's hating, da 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 da. When you are immersed, say, in a new culture, where there's no familiarity around you. And in her case, she said she tried to adapt. So I remember when I was in Ethiopia, they was like, you got to learn to count, you got to learn to spell, you got to learn everything all over again. You got to be able to go to market, you want to be able to do all of these things. And you're not always going to have a chaperone with you. There's a certain degree of letting go of who you are to be able to assimilate in this culture if you're going to get along with the people who are there. And depending on who you are and the person and how you relate to the culture, that may be a hurdle. So you may get away from some of the things that you think may be plaguing you. You may have a whole new set. So if you don't adapt well, if you reminisce about the meat pots, if you think you're going to escape certain things, everywhere has the same type of people and personalities. They just speak different languages. They just had different experiences. But you may have the deceiver, you may have the narcissist, you may have the conniver. All of these same people exist. And that was one of the most, I would say, eye-opening takeaways is that when I saw that many people who were, per se, in Ethiopia had to walk on eggshells, who repatriated because they weren't from there. They had to walk on eggshells with the people in and around them because they were the foreigner, and you're a stranger in this land. Now you understand Abraham's sentiment. You understand Jacob's sentiment that you're a foreigner in this land, and at any moment people could turn up on you. I mean, that's a real thing. I will never. Y'all want a real story? The real story. One day, I don't know if I told this story before, but so I'm from New York. They said if you make it in New York, you make it. So I'm like, whatever, I'm not scared. Let's go. We going. I don't got no problem. So one day now we're in the country. We're in Shashamani. Okay. And I noticed that the Rastas and those who were repatriated, they have to interface with the native people in a certain way because the native people are not all that always thrilled that you're there. If you're coming with foreign money, you may look like, even though you don't have a lot, you may look like you have a lot. So you're always marked. You know what I'm saying? You're always like, it's like going to a new hood. So people are going to have you, they're going to make you out as, this stranger who, whatever you're trying to come to do, who knows? So, so wait a minute. Let me see. This computer about to die. Uh-oh. The computer about to die. Uh-oh. So, so we started picking up some language. We started picking up some language. We started learning how to count. Started being able to go to Maganenia, which is one of the places in Ethiopia, and go to the open air market and know how to count enough to you know get whatever you need, your produce. So there's a taxi kind of, it's not Uber, it's called a Bajaj. It's like a taxi. It's kind of like one of them scooter looking taxis, right? With the open door. So everybody knows how much the taxi costs because it's one of the cheap joints. It don't even got no doors on it. Come on. It goes slow and it just gets you up the road. So this particular day, these are just some of the things that make you go, man, what in the world is wrong with y'all? So this particular day, myself and my husband were trying to go up the road, and we know how much it costs. So when we got up the road, the Bajaj driver, he's like, "Oh, you Ferengi, because you got the mark on. You're a Ferengi. You got money. We're gonna get you for your money." This is one of the issues. It doesn't have to be everybody's issues, but this is one of the issues that I experienced. If they see you got money, they're gonna try to get you for the papers. And the guy wants to just change the price on spot. It's not dollar dollar no more. It's 5 5. I forgot the exact price. And so we had been there for a while by this time, so we wasn't going for it. We're like, no. So he started engaging with them, like, no, 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 we're not paying you that. That's not how. So the guy, the driver, jumps out the car, all animated like, and then all of a sudden, I promise you, shout out to Ethiopians. I love y'all. But brethren, I don't know how all of y'all came out of the bush at night so quickly. People just descended on the spot. Like, I don't know where they were coming from. I don't know how it happened. So I'm looking. I got my daughter. She's a baby. She's in my hands. Like, she's not, how old is she? She's like 1. But I used to carry her in a baby carrier on me. And I'm looking at the situation. So he's like, "Now we ain't paying you. We ain't paying you." So then the crowd start hollering, "Never, never." That means Steve, right? And the crowd is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And one of the friendlier neighbors I saw coming across the street towards, I was like, because it looked like it was about to be a fight. It's about to be a fight because he's not paying. The guy wants to boost up the price, and I'm like, I'm trying to get out of here because we're surrounded. You feel me? This is now I understand why Jacob is like, y'all trying to start a beef out here. We are surrounded. So basically, somebody could be trying to get you and it's unjust. But if the system in and around you is unjust, you feel as though there's not much you can do. And this can be anywhere, but especially when you don't know the culture, the language, and the people, it makes it even more complex. I'll just say that. So, I mean, long story short, I walked across the street and I was like, yo, I'm out. And then the guy came over and he said some stuff, blah, 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 in Amharic. And then it was squashed and we went about our way. That wasn't the first time we almost got into a fight, just in the taxi only. So, what things that you think are small, the taxi, the market, renting a house, all of these very small things become big things, especially when you know that the person or the people are trying to exploit you. And sadly, many people try to. So those are some of my and like LF said, yeah, the neighbor was ciphering our um, our light. Hard body, he was ciphering the light and not paying for nada. Would I visit Ethiopia again? I sure would. I don't know about being as gun ho as I was before, but I sure would visit again. So, any more questions, feel free to ask. I would say, in a nutshell, why you are here, why you are present, see what you can deal with. See what's your breaking point. Some people it's not having lights. Some people it's sleeping on the floor. Some people it's not being able to bathe every day. If you don't have water, you ain't gonna be able to bathe every day. Some people you don't know or you forgot or you're disconnected from catching water. I was like, why are they having all of these big containers? You know what I mean? Naive little American. Then when the water went off, I was like, oh, okay, that's why you have such big containers. You know what I mean? So a lot of this stuff, especially in this day and time, you can do a lot of research. You can prepare yourself. You can just practice. Turn your lights off and just don't use lights for a whole day. You know what I mean? Catch water and just learn how to bathe. We had to learn how to bathe from a leader. A leader. And this is a true story. A liter of water. We had to learn how to bathe from that much water. Okay, and it's funny because I was just telling my daughter today, because it was hot out here, and that the water in the bottle was hot. We used to, uh, we used to take the water bottle and put it in the sun so it could warm up because there was no hot water. I'm not saying every place. I'm just saying the place that we was at that time. There was no hot water, so we would have to take all of these things that today is modern amenities. May end up in a place that you may have to remember some of these things. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Queen T said she's looking at Rwanda. I was one time looking at Tanzania, but now I'm seeing some of the things that wasn't considered, which is what people are saying now, which is uh, the fact that Tanzania is. I was looking at the beauty of the land on the Indian Ocean, but they were saying that Tanzania is more Islamic and the West Coast is more, depending on who your colonizer was. And so you also have to consider that as what is the native language. Like Ghana, it would be English. You know what I mean? Nigeria would be English. But if you go to other places that may be French or that may be other languages, it may be difficult for you to move around. And let me just say, many things move at very slow pace, very slow pace, very slow. Very slow pace. I mean, they might have changed now. That was 10 years ago, so a lot has changed in 10 years. But they were still using dial-up 10 years ago, and that bill was expensive. But that was trip down memory lane. That fight was about to be epic, y'all. I'm like, yo, y'all, you can't be beefing with these people out here. What is wrong with you? Yeah, I heard about the infrastructure, sis. I heard about Rwanda's infrastructure. Um, Only thing is some of the places are politically, I'm not saying I don't know why I haven't researched there, but some of the places are politically, because I was like, oh, Tanzania is doing this thing, and then oops. Tanzanian president is gone. So some of the things right now is really a watching game to kind of see what's happening because the chips are moving, the pieces are moving across the board really quickly. But wherever you are, there you shall be. So the most you can do right now is work on yourself. Trust me, and on whoever you plan to carry with you. Those are my two parting thoughts. You're welcome. Yeah, real deal info. I'm not here to sugarcoat nada. Um, uh, two things, and I remember Elder told me before I left. But hindsight is always 2020. I was young. I was like, yeah. Uh, he said, know your personnel. He used to be in the army. He said, know your personnel, and I'm just like, huh? He's like, know your personnel. This is before we go, right? And when I go, I was like, dang, he told me. He told me. He told me. He told me. Know your personnel. Because you people be going home. Like Harriet Tubman didn't know her personnel. And then she had to realize, man, what in the world? So you may think that you're building and you're doing all of these things, just know the people who are willing and not willing to do the work. If you have to do too much pushing on this side, it's a no go. It's a no go. Cause what you're doing on this side is going to be. Just ask Moshe. Moses, if you don't believe me, Moses' experience. If you do too much on this side, just imagine what you're going to do on the other side when everything is changed and they're out there element and they can't catch their bearings and they miss everything that before was nothing. Now it's huge. I actually heard they miss hot dogs and they miss all the craziest stuff. Right? But when it was time to go, oh, I can't wait to leave. And when you're going, oh, I missed, da, 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 da. It's like, man, come on with the foolishness. Humans are fickle that way. Anywho, all right, that's good. It's good hearing everybody and seeing everybody. And Gambia's English. I heard people going to Gambia. One of the leading ladies who was over there. I'll be watching quietly now. Don't think I'll be watching. I'll be watching. She came back. Here's another thing. I said that was one thing, but there was so much I wanted to say on this repatriation type conversation. Is a lot of people are not considering until it's too late immigration. In America, immigration is huge, but we're not realizing that when you go to another country, if they give you a visitor visa, that's exactly what it is. Now, a lot of people are moving and packing up and thinking that you negotiate, which is the same thing we tried to do. So I was in the pocket too, that we're going to negotiate our residency on the other side. It becomes more difficult. Okay. You may have a lump sum of money when you go there and it quickly goes away. And so if you don't have residency, if you don't plan on marrying a national, you need to look at the laws of that country, what it takes to become a resident. And you need to look at it before you go. Because if you have, depending on the country, Ethiopia had a 2-year multiple entry visa. But if you came from the Caribbean, they would only give you 3 months and an extended 6 months visa. You need to look at the immigration of the country to see whether or not it's going to be a problem. Do you need to have a business? What do you need to be to prove residency? Because what will happen is you will go over there, and then when your visa is up, you can choose two roads: either become an illegal or leave the country for a prescribed amount of time and then come back. In order to leave the country, you have to have money. If you do not have a long term plan or you have some money coming in, the chances are by the time it's time for you to leave the country, you will be broke and you will not be able to leave the country. Now, I don't know about other countries, but in Ethiopia, when you overstay your visa, they charge you. I don't know if it's changed, but they charge you compounded per day for every day that you have extended or overstayed your visa. And you cannot leave the country until you have paid that fine. So I came across people who overstayed 15 and 20 years. And if they were to be caught by the government, they would have gone to jail and then deported. So That's the can of worms. Truthful perspective, you asked for it. Hopefully that was insightful. Look at your immigration laws at the country. That's why a lot of people are leaving Tanzania right now, according to what I am following, because you have all of these high hopes. You have to not only just say you have a business in the location, it has to be sustainable and for real, because how are you going to live, right? Um, and you have to look at what it takes to get residency in the country and what type of visa you're going to go on, a student visa, a visitor visa, a work visa. All of these things are very important. Green tea, what? That's facts. That becomes a real, yeah, I heard of people who I've met people who overstayed their visa, but Ethiopia changed in recent years that a lot of the rosters who were there for a long period of time, they gave them, and the same thing in Israel as well. They gave them residency. But in Israel recently, I saw that they were bringing some people that they were deporting because their paperwork wasn't proper. If your paperwork is not correct, you can't even go to Western Union and pick up money. Well, back then it was Western Union. Your paperwork is correct, you can't legally work. You have to really consider all of these things when you're going to make a move, especially if you have a family. So that's my word to the wise. You know, a word is enough for the wise. I'm going to thank everybody for tuning in. I have talked about a little bit of everything. It's one of them days. So with that said, go on over to the Yummy Goddess. Check it out. Share the link. All of that good stuff. I will talk again. Oopsie. Hold up. Oh, yeah, y'all. I'm looking for my outro.